Merce Cunningham was one of the first or early postmodern dance artists, and his work was groundbreaking. His choreographic innovations changed the course of dance forever. He really ushered in a whole new way of thinking about how dance can be made, how movement is investigated, how it's organized, certainly how it's performed. He created something called chance procedures or chance dance. And this is something that you're going to get a chance to practice during this module, which I'm really excited about. So this is a moment to kind of, I don't know, perk your ears up a little bit and take some of this in because you'll have an opportunity to practice it yourself. So Merce Cunningham, as a postmodern artist, believed that dance had intrinsic value, that it didn't need to be about anything else. So you can see how this is an exact opposite of dance with a narrative, like the Morris Provence or some of the works that Martha Graham made. He believed, or he was excited rather, by dance by chance, just letting things organically and naturally happen as a method of choreography. So as I mentioned in the previous lecture, the postmodern artists rebelled against that whole idea that you had to have this very specific craft when making dances, that you had to have this beginning, middle, end, that things had to be logical, that they had to make sense, that they had to go in a certain order. These postmodernists were very much anti all of that. They loved spontaneity, they loved surprise. Merce Cunningham had this method of choreography that was based on the idea that there are no prescribed movement materials or orders or series of actions that had to happen. He worked a lot. His biggest collaborator was a musician and composer, John Cage, who was very, very prominent in this time. What they would do is they would work independently. Merce would create all of the movement, and John Cage would compose the music, but they didn't speak to each other during the process, which is very different than most dance and musical collaborators. They work very separately. The dancers wouldn't even hear the music until the performance. They worked all the time with this element of chance. So Merce would rehearse with a company. They would create all the movement. John Cage would create all the music. The first time they heard it or saw things all together would often be on the day of the show, which is crazy. And it's crazy to me, and I'm a dancer. They worked with chance in the way of rolling the dice. This was very much a Merce Cunningham thing. So for example, he might have 10 different sections of movement. And again, he didn't believe in order or prescribed or set order. So he might have 10 different sections of dance that had been choreographed. There might be 2 or 3 different scores, so 2 or 3 different compositions of music. There would have been perhaps 2 different backdrops that had been created, and perhaps a few different versions of costuming. And Merce Cunningham would go out onto the stage in front of the audience, and he would roll the dice right then and there so that the audience felt like they were a part of it. And however the dice landed, that would determine what that evening's performance would be. So he may then turn to the dancers in the company and say, okay, we're going to start with the last section, and we're going to then go to the middle section, and then we're going to end with the very first section that we created. And we're going to use the second score of music, and I'm going to use the first backdrop, and we're going to use the second set of costuming. So nothing was set. Albert Einstein once said, "There are no fixed points in space." And this was a quote that was, in essence, what Merce Cunningham was about. It was the way that he worked with all of his dances. It was a deep value for him that there are no fixed points in space. Merce always felt that movement itself was expressive just by itself, regardless of intention or expression, beyond intention. Again, very different from the early modern dance pioneers. Merce said, "For me, the subject of dancing is dancing itself." it's not meant to represent something else. So very different than working with symbols, very different than working with a Shakespeare play. Dance for him related much more to everyday experience, daily life. He had his company for many, many, many years up until his death in 2011. And he felt that the company shouldn't go on past his death. Whereas Martha Graham's company is still in existence, as is the Jose Limon Dance Company. But Merce felt like when he died, the company would just end. They still have a school in New York City and a foundation that keeps the works alive, but no more operating dance company the way that it was before. So just to recap a little bit with postmodern dance, Merce Cunningham, he was born in 1919 and passed in 2009. Just a reminder that he believed and was very excited and centered his work often around the idea of chance dance. Also followed Einstein's quote about no fixed points in space. He worked with John Cage, and he believed that movement itself is expressive. We're gonna, let's see. And just to watch a little bit to see aesthetically what the movement looked like in some of Cunningham's work.